going to do this by talking about how your database design is important, then explain what a human resources application is in our mind, and then how we build the one we have today that you can take home and use as a model or extend for your own purposes. Whoops, volume up. Okay. Which is the volume? To get the most out of Iron Speed Designer, first we have to have a well-prepared database. Iron Speed Designer uses a database schema to create your pages, and so it's important that your database reflect exactly what you want. Your performance will depend on the database schema, and your properly designed schema but will be easily extendable. To create this application with Iron Speed Designer, you don't need to know about .NET concepts or ASPX or any other technical aspects of your web pages. You do need to have a good knowledge of your database and how it's put together and how you can use it. You'll want to have a normalized schema with no repeating information in tables. Each item of information should be in its own place and not in many places. And you want to have tables with less fields in order to make them more efficient. Of course, you'll have primary keys and foreign keys. The foreign keys giving the one-to-many relationships that your data has that will allow you to tie together the web of information that shows exactly what you're using. You're going to use separate lookup tables when you have an item that's one of many possibilities. You'll always have lookup tables so that items can be looked up in the database. And you're going to index everything that has to be looked up. The performance of your application is critical, and indexing is critical to the performance of your application. Now, since Iron Speed Designer uses the names in your database to create your application, be sure to use meaningful names for tables and fields in your application in your database so that your application will reflect those names. You can use camel case, and Iron Speed Designer will parse the words into separate words. You should try and use singular and plural in a consistent manner so that your application will be consistent. It's also important that the fields that you use, the data types, reflect the contents and what you expect in those fields, and that the lengths of the fields be consistent with what you expect. An example of this is if you're expecting a money type in a field, then don't just use a decimal or binary field, use a currency field. Every table in your database should have primary keys. Your primary keys allow you to look up the individual records in each of the tables. And you can create virtual primary keys in Designer if for some reason a table or a view does not have a primary key. Also, you be sure to use the foreign keys to reflect the relationships in your database, and you can create virtual foreign keys in Designer so that even in the views, your items will be tied together. When you have multiple tables to be tied together to create a view, try, if at all possible, to use the database to create the views. You want to have the database do its part and let Iron Speed Designer prepare the pages for those views rather than try to use separate tables on a single page in Iron Speed Designer. Remember, Iron Speed Designer is not a query construction tool, it's a page construction tool. And now let's talk about what we mean by a human resources application. It's the management of an organization's employee, and we've listed the main modules of an human resources application. There's personnel administration, recruitment, keeping track of who's applying and what your job openings are. There's compensation, there's time management, and benefits administration. Your compensation will often be included as part of the payroll system. But in personnel administration, we want to maintain a list of past and present employees. We want to manage the personnel data for the employees and keep track of their employment history and skills. For recruitment, you'd like to know about candidates, job openings, job offers, and for compensation, of course, you have to calculate the pay, deductions, and produce checks. This is often a part of our accounting system and won't be part of what we're discussing here today. Time management allows employees to use the system to keep track of the hours worked, their vacation, and overtime. And benefits management allows you to manage your insurance, your retirement, and other aspects of your employees' benefits. The model application, the one that we're working with here today, we already have one prepared. It has 3 of the elements in it, and you'll get the application itself and the database at the end of the webinar. You'll get an email about where you can pick it up. The personnel administration, we're going to have recruitment, and we're going to have time management. So we start to build this application. We started with the database schema, created the necessary table, figured out the information flow, what we want, and then we used our batch wizard to add auditing to the application. We use the security wizard to add security, and then we configure menus with our menu wizard. Our database schema includes the personnel, the employees, the jobs, the history, and then it includes, for recruitment, includes job openings, job offers, resumes, and applications. Time management, you have overtime, you have time off, and you have departments, positions, roles of the people, and skills. So to create this application with IronSpeed Designer, first you identify which tables and pages you'd like. Then you create all the pages and add security, and basically if you've got everything designed correctly, your application is done. Of course, you'll be tweaking it with page modifications, and you'll need to make sure that all the menus and all the flow of your application is in the right direction. So once you create the application with IronSpeed Designer, you go through and clean out unnecessary pages, define your main data entry points, define your menus, and then add any extra formulas and charts you might need for processing. Some of the tips and tricks you can use with IronSpeed Designer. You can easily convert fields to hyperlinks with a formula. This looks complicated, but when you sit down and analyze it, you'll see it's basically creating an argument with a correct primary key to allow you to look up a field. And you can have auditing fields in your application. Your auditing fields use our audit feature where you have updated by, updated on, etc. And then you can have those updated automatically as people use the application. One of the tricks with IronSpeed Designer is not to think that you have to have all of your connections in your menus itself. The menus give you the main connections, then the buttons on the pages for connections to other tables and other pages give you the edit and show relationships. So first you create your application, and then you'll use the make changes to the application generation options to reflect exactly the way you want things created. And also, when you create when you want to drop in child tables inside an existing page, if one table is related to another, instead of trying to drop it outside of the existing record, you drop it inside the record, and then you cut and paste it outside if you want it to be outside. We're going to go through the general process of creating that application, we'll take a look also at the application that we have for the customer service or for human resources. Actually, I think we're going to do that first. And of course, you can turn in questions at any time. Let me get started by going to IronSpeed Designer version 12.1. And then in the recent applications, you can see I have here the application that we'll be looking at. And so if we open up the application, which you'll be able to do as soon as you get the copy that you can get from us, you can run it. You'll notice that we start on the employees page. So we'll run the application. Now this application uses a Microsoft SQL Server Compact Edition. Let's see if I remember the logins here. So we have two users in our application. We have Bill Gates and Lance Armstrong. And here we can see for the employees any of their employee information, their time off. You can add records for time off, your employee skills, their overtime, their job offers, and their job history. You'll notice we have groups in menus. We have groups for the employees, and then we have education, which we can look up. We have the departments of the application of the organization. We can look up the departments and see what they have for job openings and jobs. We have the job offers that we can look at, the job openings. And we have the overtime, the positions that employees take, the resumes of the applicants, and we have a configuration section for adding configuration to the application. This would have to do with security configuration, where we can go to add the roles or skills of the different employees. You look over here in the Application Explorer. This is an excellent model for seeing exactly what's used in the application. In the application, we have the department's education, the employees, and in each of those is the different pages which are built for them. And so we take a quick look through there, and we can build the same application ourselves. Now this application that we're working with right here was modified from earlier versions. It came up and was migrated. It's now in version 12.1, but I believe it started back in version 9. And we could, if we had the original one, we could still use the original one in version 9, but we migrated up to version 12.1 and now use it in 12.1. We have all of the different fields, different pages that we have for positions, for resumes, and for our security. So let's go to our application, go to the applications, and see the people that we have employed looking for jobs. So we have different applications. In each one, we can get their employment history, their resume, their job offers, their education. All right. Now, go back to Iron Speed Designer, a new application. Let's open up another version of Iron Speed Designer so I can keep that one open. And in this new version, I'm going to actually start the process of building the application. We can go to now we're going to do mobile pages and use mobile pages for some of our information so that users with mobile devices or employees with mobile devices can look up some of the information there. Let's pick a theme. We have this one prepared in the Mana theme. One of our classic themes has been around for a long time, but we can also, if we want to have the application in a modern theme, say look at one of the modern themes. Let's just change it over to a modern theme. If you want to change the application into a modern theme, the only way to do that is to recreate the application using the original as a template for you to guide you through the creation process, because you can't switch an application from classic to modern templates. Then you pick the database that you're using. We're using SQL Server CE, as I said. And with, well, let's just take a look. I believe we have over here in the database, we have the diagram. And you can get a diagram of the database that we're using, which shows the employees, the job history and the jobs, the time off for the employees, and how all these things are related to each other. And so you can familiarize yourself with the aspects of the database. Once we have the database, you're warned that you have to have full trust if you're creating an application with compact edition. And then we choose which pages we'll be creating. So we choose the tables first. I got the wrong one here. Let's go back to my databases. I left it here with the Southwind database, and that's the wrong thing. We need to be pointing at my DB, my HR database. Almost started to create the wrong application there. And now we see all of the contents of the database that we can work with. So we'll select, if we look at the original, we see, for instance, in the applications. What do we have in applications? We have an edit page, we have an add page, we have a show page, and we have a table page showing the child groups. So we can go here, we can go in the applications, we want to add a record, we want to edit a record, and we want to show a record, and we want to show a table with details in row. Now, in each of these, we just want to work with the application itself, but with the table page, with the detail, we want the application, and we want, well, let's see which of the tiled tables we want to see. The easiest way to do that is to just go to the application in our running application, go to the applications, go to, we want employee history, resumes, job offers, and education. So we'll select the panels here for education, employment history, job offers, and resumes. And so on down through the tables. Let's just start with creating a single table, the pages for a single table, because we can run this iteratively and add others as we go. But for right now, also one other thing I want to do, in my options, I know that I'm going to have auditing in this application. So I'll go to my application notes and get the names of the fields that are my audit fields in my different tables, because I can add them to the fields which I don't want to show in my application itself in any of the pages. So these fields that I've just typed in the names for here will not be included on any of the pages that we use. Okay, let's go to the next. And here we're going to have languages. Of course, we only need English since we're not a multinational company yet. So, and we'll just call this My App 1. We'll put it in my training folder with the HR application. You can pick whichever code behind language you want, the code for .NET framework of the server that you'll be running it on, and which Visual Studio you'll use to edit your application. We can also, we'll make this a web application. This is going to be larger and we want it pre-compiled. And then we'll finish the first pages. While we're waiting for that to build, I'll take a look at a couple of questions that have been asked. I'm new with IronSpeed, but as a .NET developer, I want to know if I can change the look and feel of the web controls, like using jQuery or Bootstrap. IronSpeed is not compatible with Bootstrap. There's just too much different about how you do things. That's why we have two different sets of pages. And it's too bad I forgot to do that, but you notice in the original page, I've got now my applications and my application pages. And you can see in our new theme, we have the applications and the same pages that we created before. What I didn't do was add to this application. So let's go back to our application and put in the mobile pages, because we could just as easily have created mobile pages. So we go back to our application wizard here and go to the pages, and for our applications we also want mobile pages. I'd like to be able to see, not necessarily to change, but to see my information on mobile pages. So for the applications, for the table, for the mobile table, and we can see the applications for the mobile records. Then we can just finish the application because we don't want to change anything. We just want to add those two pages to our application. So we were talking about Bootstrap. Now Bootstrap is not compatible with IronSpeed Designer. We're working on other ways, as you can see with mobile pages, of making your applications available to both mobile devices and regular computer users. We do have jQuery. jQuery is used in IronSpeed Designer right now. We include a jQuery library, and so you can use it too. When I migrate to the latest version of ISD 12.1, and my mobile versions of apps, will my mobile versions of apps be generated as separate apps from the desktop, or will the mobile pages still be in the desktop app? When IronSpeed Designer generates an application, it includes mobile pages. That is, pages that are designed for viewing on a mobile device and the smaller screen size. Those are not a separate application. IronSpeed Designer does have a facility, a deployment facility for making a separate application for either iPhone or Windows or Google phone, but when you do that, you have to create a separate application. But IronSpeed Designer can allow your users in their browsers in their mobile devices to access the mobile pages, and so you could say that's just as good as an application. I actually think it's better, but if you want an application, you can, with the deployment wizard, generate a separate application. How difficult is it to set up a pyramid type of security, meaning a department manager can only see his group and not other groups? That's what role-based security does, and that's included with the application we give to you. Not this application that I'm building right now to show you how to build it, but with the application we have. Let's just look at the application we have. We'll go to the security wizard. Now, security has already been configured in this application, but if we want to find out about how it's configured, we have database roles, database security with the roles table. We're looking up information from the employees for login and password. And we're having roles where we have two tables, role ID in the employee roles table and the employee ID. So if we can look that up, here we have a roles table, which is part of the configuration mechanism of our application. Can I change the theme after it's been created? When you have an application, you can change its theme. This one is created with the Mana theme in our classic set. You can change it to any other. Let's just go look at that. Suppose I wanted to change, this is my HR application. If I go to the application wizard and change the page style, it's in Mana, but I can pick a different one. Let's see, how would it look in Cascade? Okay, let's do that. Let's finish our application. If we're going to change the page style, we have to just change the page style. I don't want to make any other changes at the same time because Designer handles the page style change all separately. But we can change to any other style that we're using. And so when we get finished, we'll have the application available with a different look. As soon as this is finished, then I want to go back and we'll look at our application again and make sure that the mobile pages showed up. We generated the mobile pages, but we didn't see them yet. And so we'll log in here. You'll notice how our login page is different. Well, everything's going to be different. It's going to look different, but it's actually going to be exactly the same application. So now we have a new theme for our application, but the same old application doing the same things. Let's see, can you schedule reports to be emailed automatically, i.e. weekly reports, monthly reports? We do have the ability to email pages, but to do that on a weekly schedule, normally that's on demand, it's event driven. So if we were to click a button, then we could customize that button to also send out a report, send out email, whatever you want in that email. To send it out automatically on a timer would require something that ran on your timing system and then called the application and generated the report and mailed it out. That would require customization, which we certainly can do, but isn't something you just click a button and get. You have to actually customize it. But on the other hand, customizing the application is probably easier, way easier than doing it from scratch. So we're still ahead of the game there. Does IronSpeed run on 64-bit Windows 10? We're still testing with Windows 10. It does run 64-bit. In the latest version, you'll notice there are two different installers. And let's see, the best thing to do is just go to the web page. If we go to IronSpeed and go to the home page, let's look at our system requirements version history page, and you'll see that ever since version 12.0, we've had two versions that you could download, a 32-bit version or a 64-bit version. So, meanwhile, let's see, no more questions right now, so let's go back to our application. There. This is the one we built, and you'll notice we should have added mobile pages for it. Am I looking at the right thing? Let's see, or did I add the mobile pages? Oh, sorry. Presentation mobile. In our mobile presentation layer, notice we don't have anything except application, but now we have two mobile application pages for the show and table. And that means that if we want to look at one of those and see the difference, here's our show page for an application in mobile. Let's preview that page. This will preview the page in our browser. And we can look at an application in our mobile device. We can also look at who's applied. You'll notice that's quite different than the applications here for the to show an application on a web device. Whoops, we go to show it. And here is the single application. And for the table, we have the table contents itself, but we also have the child tables. So we get much more on a web device, but we get on a mobile device, we get exactly what we can see on the mobile device. So you'll see we can generate companion mobile pages to go with our application. Are there calendar pages built in, or are they additional modules you need to purchase? You don't need to purchase any calendar modules, and let's see. I haven't looked for where you change that, but you can use, let's see if we can go find it. There is built into IronSpeed the .NET calendar controls. And so let's see if we can go to, not our application. application, but the original application. Let's see what it has. The original application has an application here. The application itself will have a date on it, available to start. So let's see if we edit that. Available to start on this date. Now this does, and it has a built-in pop-up calendar control right on it. Come with .NET applications. Are there calendar pages? Let's see. Can a corporate template with customized headers and footers be created and saved so that it is available for every website project initiated inside Designer? That's a little, it's easy to change those aspects in any application, but changing it in the template itself is something we don't have instructions for. If you examine IronSpeed Designer, the underlying structure of where it gets its pages, yes, you could modify the project templates. Let's just take a look at that. Here we'll go to look at the app installation folder for IronSpeed Designer. And so we're looking for IronSpeed. C, IronSpeed, the wrong one. C, program files, sorry about that. Program files. My IronSpeed is installed in the program files. Here's my version 12.1 right here. In my project templates are the page templates that are used for creating pages. So depending on the Visual Studio you'll be looking at for web applications or websites, we're using web application for VB or C#. And you have all these different aspects you can use. You can go into the project templates, find out what's used to build it, and change the template pages there, and you can do exactly what you want. But that's not a project for the faint of heart. It's much easier to actually modify your own application. And let's just take a look at that. I notice we still have a funky header here. So if we wanted to modify the header that goes on the application, terribly easy thing to do. All we've got to do is go to our application, take a look at our header and footer section. We'll have a header, header control, not the VB, just the header control. We'll look at the logo, and the logo will show us where we're getting the logo from. It's just a standard logo image. We'll change this to be our own corporate website logo, which I can get from our corporate website. If I go to my own corporate website copy that I have here on my computer, go to its images folder, images, and find our IronSpeed header. Let's just copy this because we want to use that in our own application, which is out here in training in HR and the HR application in the images folder. So let's paste in the folder, and while we're here, we'll get the copy the name. Once we copy the name, we can use that file name here and save the page and preview it. Oh, wrong thing. Previewing it was a bad idea because that's just going to preview the header page, and I don't want to do that. Let's go back to one of our earlier applications. Wrong one. Okay. Wrong one, wrong one. We have all these. I think we'll get rid of a bunch, but first of all, let's go down here and kill off some of these tabs. Much better. Go to our application and select the home page or run the entire application. Run the application. We'll run it fresh and log in, but you notice that we have the IronSpeed logo. Looks like I have a transparency issue on this particular theme, which I would have to fix, but I can do that or use a different theme. So notice how we definitely have a changed theme image, and you can do that really easily. Same with the other aspects. And so generally, if you want to use those things, you would set up a couple of simple customizations you can just routinely do yourself as part of a checklist of creating an application, and that's way easier than trying to figure out how to modify the project templates. Is it correct to assume that you change from either 32 to 64 or vice versa for your target server? A simple recompile of the application on the corresponding platform will be all that would be needed. Actually, IronSpeed Designer applications, the application you create, is available to run on either 32-bit or 64-bit .NET, and it runs based on the server you have. You don't have to recompile or anything. You just run the you deploy the application, and it runs in that mode as you need it, or as your server allows it. What special actions should be taken to make sure the application displays well on desktops, laptops, and mobile devices? Well, like any other things, you can spend as much time as you want previewing on all the devices you want to look at. We've done a lot of that for you, and it's one of the reasons you use IronSpeed Designer. If you prepare mobile pages, those mobile pages will display well on a large set of mobile devices, and certainly the most common ones. And it's the same thing for desktops. We test on both Google Chrome, Firefox, and IE, and so you can be sure that your pages will show well in those. What you need to do then is make sure that the page content, the fields you're showing, and where they're positioned on the page is exactly what you want. We do good defaults, but you always want to check that. And so those are the kind of things that you'll need to do. We already have built into IronSpeed Designer extensive testing on all the platforms. Is there anything included in IronSpeed that could be used for something like a day planner or appointment page? We don't have a sample application for that, but I'm sure you could build one. And actually might be a good example for well, I know why we haven't built one. There's so many planning and calendar services available that most people will be using some other existing calendar service rather than trying to do their own, I would think. But you certainly can use IronSpeed Designer with a database to hold your information and the pages that will allow a person to use it. And they can use it on their mobile apps because we have the mobile pages also. Can this HR application send email and alert messages to employees? Any IronSpeed Designer application can send email and alert messages. In that, here, let's look at the Play application. We were just starting to show you how to go through IronSpeed Designer. You would need to configure an email server, so you have to configure what your email server is. This isn't configured yet, and so we can't send a test email. But if you do configure it to point to your email server, then you'll be able to send email from your application. Now remember, this has to work on your application server also. Does IronSpeed Designer automatically adjust the header row height for different logo sizes? Yes, it does, as far as I know. I know we've occasionally earlier versions had some problems with radically different sizes, but I believe it adjusts to depending on what you put in there. If for some reason we were to find I would try it one and it didn't work, then I would go look at the let me see, for the header, we go look at the CSS that's used in the header itself. In the header, not the header mobile, I'm now going to look at my mobile application. Presentation layer, header and footer, header. Here, remember we have, this is the application I was just starting to create, so I haven't changed the header yet, but I would look at this and see which style it's. This is P header L, this is the logo class, and you could then go look at that class in your CSS for your application. Remember, we have CSS available. Every application is run with CSS in its user interface. We have the base styles, which show you all of the base styles. So you can find the style that's used and customize it to change whatever parameters you need. Thank you. Gadi asked about, made a comment here. You can copy the theme to different name and modify it to your corporate desire, and that's exactly right. We know a lot of users who do that, and this is, if you have simple modifications you want to incorporate all the time, then you can definitely do that. If it doesn't involve the workings and preparation of the pages, definitely thank you for the pointer, and it's the way to produce the application with simple user interface changes that reflect your corporate culture. As he said, copy the theme, main theme you want to use that uses it as a basis for yours, and then change the styles to reflect exactly what you need, and they'll be used all the time when you use that custom theme. How do you get rid of the image of the kid on the login page? We've had that question before. Thank you, Tara. You can modify, you go to the page. Let's see, login page is in our, oh, this is the wrong application. I don't have security there. We go to the security. We go to the sign in page, and let's see what's sign in control, login message, and we would have to look. I haven't actually done this, so we basically go to the page and use a different page, username, user label. I don't see that we have the background. It's probably an image in the style, I would expect. And so let's go look at the page. Yes. Back to the comment I had about preparing your own theme when you need special corporate style elements included in your applications all the time. Yes, if you prepare a separate theme, it will show on your themes list, and that's so it makes it very easy to create and use. Now, for getting rid of the kid, what that is a background image, and so I'm pretty sure. And so what you do is look for the background image here. Now, to find the background image, let's just look at a login page. Let me run this entire application again. Run the application so that I have to log in. Whoops. It did that. Okay, I'm going to sign out. Let's look at it. Oh, I don't have it here. Ah, darn. Too bad. Okay. I don't have an example here I can work with exactly, but I'm going to look in my application, in my images folder, So what I want to do is go to the application itself. I'm in my images folder. Where is my, there he is. So you have sign-in graphic. You want to put a different graphic there? Just change that graphic out. Thanks for that. That's right, sign-in control. You got it. And can you create a 3-level master detail page for adding a record, like for a car? That's not a 3-level master detail page would on the same page gives you way too busy a page. I think you want to go from one section to another where you add part, and then we definitely do allow dependent drop-down lists, and you can select multiple levels of dependent drop-downs. And the classic one, of course, is the car, make, model, and year. But be careful with your page design. Including too much of related tables on a single page will create you a page that's really not workable. Does it support document upload or download? Yes, it does. For examples, resumes, cover letters, etc. Yes. Let's see. I believe that, well, I don't have time to do it now. If you check out the application and the resumes, remember we're including resumes in our HR application. So in our HR application, we have, let's sign in again. If we have resumes here, if we were to go add a resume, it would add, here it would ask us to paste it in. I guess we don't have an upload and download on this page. You could also have it just upload or download. There are upload and download controls which you can use and put an upload control instead of the rich text editor we have here. Is there any reason that IronSpeed stopped supporting SharePoint? IronSpeed never did support the 2013 version. We came out with 2007 and 2010, and we do have a number of dedicated SharePoint users. We have not had the time or the opportunity to upgrade to the latest versions, and there have been significant changes so that it's not a trivial task. Does IronSpeed generate HTML5? Yes, it does. It uses many of the elements of HTML5. You'll find out that HTML5 is not a monolithic standard, but lots and lots of standards, and different browsers support different ones of them, but in general, all the modern CSS you use here in the modern themes is HTML5 or HTML5 compatible. That's one of the reasons that you can't switch back and forth from modern to classic. Can you demonstrate how to create and use the gallery pages? Gallery pages are very easy to use, and so let's go back to my application here. Where do I have? Yes. I think if I look at my application explorer, I want to look at let's look at the databases. Let's look at somebody that's got pictures available. If we got employees, we got, what do we have? Work phone, state password, image. Employees have an image, so if we wanted to do a gallery page for the employees, let's just do that. We'll go back, our layout editor here. So let's add some employees pages to this. Go to the application wizard, go to the pages for employees. We're going to be doing our usual add edit. We'll show the record, and we'll do a show table with detail in row. I don't think we'll show any of the details for right now, and we'll do a show record and a show table. but we'll also do a gallery with overlaid text. And once we've done that, let's add those pages. So if we go to the employees, and we have the employees gallery, and really it's just as simple as that. We don't have a very big gallery here, but you get the idea. You just get the rest of the images all shown, and if you want to go see any individual, you can go to his show page. And it's that easy, really, to use the gallery page. After this seminar, do you give HR webinar source code by email? We certainly do. You'll get a link allowing you to download the application, the database, and a link for the charts, the slides of the webinar. Can you view the uploaded documents using server-side viewer without downloading them to the client side? Do we have? Sure. Well, no. You still have to. They still have to download, even if they're PDF files. If you have a PDF file, you give a PDF link. You still have to view it on your in your local browser. So I'm not sure how you would go about doing that. Remember, to view it on what you say server side would have to prepare an entire page from the document, and generally for a PDF document you just download the document. How do you pass uploaded documents to SharePoint to store, and how do you get their locations back for retrieval later? That's a question I don't know the answer to. You can get the uploaded documents into your application, but the connection to SharePoint, which I'm not an expert on, is what's beyond me. I would support. That's definitely a candidate for a support case, and so I would try a support case or asking that on our forum, where our excellent user group is very active in working on different questions in different parts of IronSpeed Designer. Does IronSpeed generate application handle tables with millions of rows of data? Any performance issue? Do you have any benchmarks or case studies? I don't know of any benchmarks or case studies, but I know we do handle tables with millions of rows of data. This is just your database issue. This isn't an IronSpeed issue, unless you try and display them all, of course, on a single page, which would be foolish. But we have pagination for that, and search and other things. So really, the ability to handle large sets of data is dependent on your database and not on IronSpeed Designer. Does IronSpeed generate application handle table? Oh, sorry, same question sounds like. Does IronSpeed support approval workflows like requesting vacations? It certainly does. We don't have it built into here just yet, but you can, since you would have the ability to send an email with any click of a button, then when a person would save a vacation request form, that could be emailed to that person's supervisor, and then go from there. Do the applications created in IronSpeed get installed as UI and logic separately in two different servers? UI and logic, especially for security purposes. It's not UI and logic. The database can definitely be on a separate server, and often is. You have a database server. In this case, we have a Microsoft Compact Edition, where the database is actually embedded in the application. If we go to look at our HR application, we see we have a DB folder. When you get the application, you'll find the DB folder, which has an MDB file, an access file, the SDF file, which is the Compact Edition data file. This is what's actually used in the application, and a Human Resources SQL, the SQL which you can use to create a SQL Server edition. You run your database on a separate server and your application, but the application pages are all on the same server. They're run with the same application. And with that, we've actually run through all our time. It's amazing how fast these guys go by. Let me find my slides. And thank you for attending today's webinar. Remember, we'll be sending you an email with the location for downloading your application. Look for it and try it out. You can use the latest IronSpeed Designer to create, to build the one we have, and to use it as a model for building your own or to extend it. Let's see, one last question. How are we doing over there, Jill? Do we have more coming in?
We have a bunch of thank yous.
Okay, but does that mean we can create workflows? It certainly does. You can create workflows because a workflow is let's see if we have. No, we had another webinar which did an example of workflows. You might call your sales rep and ask about that because they might be able to find you a copy of that webinar materials that you could use. And remember, if you have a question about how to use IronSpeed Designer effectively for your project, then talk to your sales rep. They'll be able to tell you what resources you need to get going on a project and what kind of learning resources you have. Okay, thank you very much, and have a nice day, or we got another one over there.